Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pints and Politics. I'm your host, Drew, along with your other host, Mike, and we're in Long Prairie at the Countryside Restaurants. Getting some breakfast or pie or something, right?
Well, it's evening. You can do whatever you want. Breakfast or lunch, they'll serve it all day.
That's perfect.
No, great place to have a cup of coffee. My wife is having a banana cream pie. Looks delicious. I'm waiting for mine to come any second now.
That's awesome. And so today we're going to talk about caucuses because that was just recently, like last week.
Tuesday night,
Yep.
state caucuses all over the place.
Yep. So that was pretty important if you want to get your voice heard. It's a great way to do it.
Yep.
And also, we're going to talk about what was happening in St. Paul today. What do you want to start with, Mike?
I want to start with St. Paul because
Okay.
I've got my thing here that I want to read and just make it a little bit easier if I get this done first.
Yeah.
So this is actually part of a story from Alpha News that I'll touch on first. And part of the article, it says, for decades, Minnesota statute has allowed religious institutions and associates to refrain from hiring individuals who do not match their faith traditions. For example, current state law ensures that private Christian schools cannot be forced to hire teachers who are gay, lesbian, Muslim, etc. However, Democrats in the Minnesota legislature put a new term in state law during the 2023 session, which complicated that gender identity. So when Democrats introduced this term, state law was not adjusted to make sure religious institutions can still decline to hire someone whose gender identity is opposed to their faith. So what happened in committee and judiciary was Harry Niska, a Republican representative, wanted to ensure that religious groups would not be forced to hire individuals in direct violation of their religious beliefs. And it was interesting. So there was representatives there from the Muslim community, the Islamic community, the Lutheran community, the Catholic community that all said, this needs to be in there. I mean, when you see all three faiths agreeing on something, I would think that, we've got a consensus here. If we're gonna call our state a democracy and 70% of Minnesotans identify as Christian, and now you also have the Islamic faith showing up and saying this exemption needs to be in there.
Yeah.
You can identify however you want, but don't force us to go against our religious beliefs. And it was party line vote. The Democrats said no.
Well, you also can't force somebody to go against their religious beliefs, can you?
With this bill, you can.
Yeah, but isn't that in the Constitution a little bit higher up?
You would think so, and you would think the law would be out there, but here's the problem. This is a religious freedom. It is in the Constitution.
Yep.
It should be
First Amendment.
Oh, First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, absolutely.
And freedom of association.
Freedom of association. It directly attacks our constitutional rights.
Yep.
So you would think that there would be somebody on the other side who would say, hold on here a second. There's this piece of paper that, says you can't do that. And yet they did it anyways.
And that was this week. Last week.
So Thursday night,
okay,
when we caucus and we had floor session, and that had happened right after judiciary. So Harry had put this amendment forward thinking that there was an error, that it wasn't put in as the exemption. And the Democrat lead, Jamie Becker Finn, said, no, that was not an error. This was intentional.
Okay, so the Democrats are Islamophobic.
You can read it that way.
Well, I mean, it is. It's attacking Islam. And, granted, I'm not a Muslim, but...
Well, it's attacking all faiths.
It's attacking all faiths.
So one of the beauties of that Constitution is this. Our founding fathers realized that when the state decides what religion you can and can't practice, because that happened in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? After the Protestant Reformation, parts of the country were either Lutheran or they were Catholic. There were splits in the European countries. And what would happen is if one monarch said, say it's a German monarch, said, we're going to be Lutheran. Okay? During his reign, the whole country had to be Lutheran. You couldn't be anything else. All of a sudden, his son or a marriage or something would happen, and guess what? And all of a sudden, the whole country is Catholic. And it was dictated by the state to change religion, and it caused immense problems in Europe.
Yeah.
And of the religious wars that happened in Europe, a lot of them can be directly correlated to this. So our founding fathers said, okay, the state cannot dictate your religion.
Yep.
You have the freedom to choose which religion you want to do, and the state has no say in this.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. It was really one of the first places in the world I think this has ever happened.
Yep.
I mean, if you look all the way back to the Egyptians, even the pharaoh dictated the religion, right?
Yeah, because there was a one pharaoh, I think his name was like Amun Ra. That sounds wrong. But there was one pharaoh, he actually changed it. He was so unpopular that the second he died, they tried to erase him from history.
Absolutely. So this is history, and if you didn't follow the religion that was chosen by the state, let's look at the Israelites.
Oh yeah.
You were slaves,
Yep.
right? The Crusades, and some people say that they look at their Crusades and religions basically dictated you convert or die.
And you have that on both sides.
You had it on both sides, sure. But what we're seeing with this law
Mhm.
is you are not allowed to hold your firm religious beliefs. You are going to be dictated by the state what you can and can't do. If a minister or pastor says this isn't wrong, he may be breaking the law.
Which is weird because I've heard some people say that this kind of LGBTQ trans stuff is almost like a religion.
Well, and that was my argument. I've been on about 3 radio stations since this happened already, and it is.
Yeah.
Look, it has all the axioms, all the definition of a religion,
Yeah.
because it doesn't necessarily have to be worshiping a deity or a god in order for it to be a religion. You can turn anything that you want basically into your religion. Climate could be, the climate people could be considered a religion. It absolutely is. If you do not follow their religion, you are anathema. You are cursed.
Yeah. Well,
cast into the darkness where it'll be the weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? Well, here we are saying if you don't agree with the LGBTQ religion, you are against the law, you are breaking the law, and therefore you have no place in this society.
so what's the punishment? Is it fines or is it jail time?
I don't know what this. It's got to run through the course. But
Okay.
even for them to attack this religious freedom,
Yeah.
would they want Christianity to be the religion of the state?
Absolutely.
Would they want Islam to be the religion of the state? Would they want any other faith to be the religion of the state? No, and yet they're dictating their religion of the state. This is absolutely wrong. And it's an attack on our freedoms, on every freedom. Whether you believe in Christianity or not is irrelevant. Whether you believe in Islamism or not is irrelevant. What it is your right to either believe or not believe is under attack. And that is so dangerous. This country was started with the freedoms that we have. It has grown with the freedoms that we have. And now we're at a place in our society where we say, if you don't agree with my religious beliefs, my LGBTQ beliefs, you are wrong and you are a criminal. Absolutely.
Huh.
So I had to get that out of the way. I was fired up about it. Like I said, I was on.
Yeah, I'm hearing this for the first time, so I'm processing this.
I was shocked, and Walter Hudson did a good breakdown of it, and I really liked what he had to say. Harry Niska, another good, and Harry has a very lawyer mind, very analytical. I mean, he thinks of these things through. Peggy Scott did a good job on that committee as well. But to see the Democrats and their arguments against this just floored me.
So what was the main argument against it? Or what was the main argument for the Democrats?
So I would say the biggest argument was you're trying to erase their identity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So erasing the identity. So erasing the identity by just saying, hey, we don't want any part of it.
Correct. I don't know
Got
of
it.
any religious institution that is saying convert or die. But in the flip side, what they're saying is you need to
Convert or go to prison.
believe in their LGBTQ movement, their religion, or you are a criminal.
I have a feeling that's not going to work out so well, and maybe that's just me trying to be optimistic. Um,
I don't know. I'm watching the state and I look at, we should have just an outcry. I mean, just an outpouring of
well,
people
nobody.
that are mad.
I don't think people know yet.
You understand?
I mean, it took like 6 months for people to realize what's going on with the flag, and now people are freaking out.
Speaking of that, if you get the opportunity, March 5th, rally down at the Capitol.
We're doing March 5th. We're doing that.
Save the flag.
Oh,
Yep.
March 5th is also primary Super Tuesday.
Is it?
Yeah, March 5th is super.
You
Vote
wanna-
first.
Look up on Rocks and Cows and see if I got the date right. I'm pretty sure it's March 5th.
Dude, March 5th is Super Tuesday. You need to go out and vote on March 5th
Yeah,
in the
you
primaries. That's,
definitely need to do that too.
like, in my opinion, that's more important.
Yeah. We're going to have a good turnout by the sounds of it. Rocks and Cows is doing a lot of advertising for it. They always do. And there may be, okay, there may be some other groups there as well. I had spent some time talking with a Native American group who is actually opposed to schools changing their names.
Yeah.
And getting rid of the Native American references and stuff. So they are opposed to these bills or this legislation that would make schools change their names.
Mhm.
They're opposed to the state flag changing. They say this is an erasing of our culture.
It is.
We could
It
spend a half
100%
hour.
is.
Yeah, we could spend an hour on that just alone. But so watch what's going on with this bill, with the judiciary bill, with that exemption.
What's the name of this bill coming off?
Oh,
You know?
shoot. I had it on my phone. Now Amber's looking at it, but it's 4021, House File 4020. So look that up, and I'll get something. Ethan can put a clip up on that as well, or we'll
Link.
reference link
Links.
to Alpha News' story. It's a pretty good rundown of what's going on, but let's transition because that's going to progress. That's going to proceed here, and it's going to get. I think it's going to get messy.
I think this is the fun thing. We get the actual report. I mean, granted, it's not a good thing, but it's like good to know what's going on.
Yeah,
And so,
an early heads up, I guess.
yeah, 100%. That's fantastic. That's part of why we're doing this.
Right, that happened Thursday night when most of us are made aware of it. And I can tell you in our caucus room, I should explain that. That's when all 64 members of the Republican side, we get together and we discuss things that are going on, bills and so forth. And this was brought before us from the Judiciary Committee. So I'll just say too, this is the March 5th. It's at the Capitol steps.
March 5th.
Save the flag, 2 p.m. noon at the Capitol steps. 2 p.m. is the press conference. So from noon to 1:30 at the Capitol steps, there's going to be speakers, citizens asking the public to have the final say in the flag. There's go on Rocks and Cows, and we can reference that. Ethan always does a great job of taking care of us. We can have some clips on there, let you know where to go and what to do.
Yep. But also, if you're going to go, make sure you vote first.
Yes.
Most important thing is make your voice heard.
That's right, that primary. So let's talk a little bit about caucuses. Let's back.
Yeah, we had
Now
caucuses.
that I got that issue out of the way, I was a little fired up.
Oh, that's good. It's important. That's why we do this. But also there was caucuses. Was it last Tuesday?
Yes.
And the thing that's great about caucuses is that you get to do the most basic local building block, like level one, making things move up the ladder. And announcement, I became a delegate last Tuesday. So I'm moving up the ladder. I'm going to make my voices heard. I actually had a resolution passed, Mike.
Did you?
Yep, I had a resolution. It's
What was your resolution?
it's based on the federal constitution, specifically Article 5, the Conventions of States idea.
Oh,
If you're not familiar with that, Article 5 Convention of States, if you get 2/3 of the governors, they can come together and like propose amendments, remove laws. So I'm kind of pushing for the same thing at the state level, whereas if you get 2/3 of the counties to agree on removing a piece of legislation, they can do that as long as it's not an amendment.
interesting.
So
I wonder how that would tie in with the state constitution.
we could just make it an amendment, push for an amendment. Because Yeah, I don't see why not. If you have 2/3 of the state of Minnesota, 2/3 of the counties, the commissioners, it puts power in the counties. So therefore, if you live in like Roseau at the top of the state, people in Minneapolis who never go up there can't just tell you exactly what to do. It gives you a something to like, hey, we live differently than you, kind of a deal.
Well, I tell you what, those conversations come up quite a bit when we're down at the Capitol, when it comes to committee and when it comes to laws, and we say, look, this law or this, what you're trying to promote here does not work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's great. It gives more local control. But I wonder if we have lost our local control because we have given it up to the state. Because some of those things really were local controlled. You had a local constable, you had a local
The sheriff,
school, you had
the
all of these
school board.
things. When I say even local constable, I'm talking at the township level.
Oh yeah.
You know, your local townships, your little red schoolhouses had their own schools. You know, that was local control. So I wonder if we've given that up, if it isn't already in the law, but we've just given it up.
Well, that's something to look
It may
into.
still be in place.
Yeah, but again, there's also a law in the state, bill of laws where if you see 7 Native Americans off the res, you can shoot them because it's considered a war party. Like that's still in the books. Government isn't about removing laws; it's about adding new things and then just talking whoever's enforcing them to enforcing what they want.
It's interesting, and I got to tell you, I got an email because I was a little frustrated, and even our newsletter, I had talked about how the laws, the legislation, and stuff that's going through, and it's Democrat controlled. And somebody says you got to just stop beating up on the Democrats. But you got to remember something: they are in control of the House, Senate, and the governorship. And when they're in the leadership positions on all three of these things and refuse to take any amendments, any suggestions, and listen
Any
to
input.
us, offer anything at committee, to not have our members at the conference committee, they have rejected any of our voice. So yes, there's a level of frustration. Yes, we're going to be upset and beat up on the Democrats because
The Democrats are beating up on us.
I would have to say, what other recourse do we have? I went down there with the intention of, yes, we need to find ways where we can work together, because I do believe there's a lot of common ground. But the system right now is not working for the people, and they're in charge of the system. Therefore, they are responsible for the things that are going on in the state. And if the majority of the state doesn't agree with that, then we have a problem.
Absolutely.
So that's my 2 cents. But caucuses, and I want to go back to that because good for you.
Yeah.
To get involved in the caucuses. It's absolutely vital. It's that grassroots politics.
That's how you do grassroots. You got to start at the base, the very basic. You can't just jump to the top. You got to start at the bottom. Work your way. It's like a ladder. You don't start at the top of the ladder. You start at the bottom.
Well, we the people of the United States of America. It was not we the government. It was we the people. So your voice, that grassroots, those caucuses are powerful.
Well, actually,
It's
the people are the
unfortunate.
government. It's
Well-
supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Sure. But when the people don't get involved, I have to say there were some caucuses that were not very well attended.
Yeah.
That was disappointing. I heard of some locations with very low turnout. We get the government that we allow to happen. We allow it to happen by not showing up to vote, by not showing up at caucuses, by not showing up in the primaries. We get the government that somebody else puts in place and not us.
You end up getting the government you deserve based on what the effort that you put into it. It's really what happens.
Yeah, very true. Very well said. So caucuses went well. We had some good things. There was some areas of the state where it didn't go as well, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. I know there's more information being gathered and discussed right now, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So we got primaries coming up, Super Tuesday next week. On the Republican side, there is, of course, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley was in Minnesota, I think last week.
She didn't send me a letter either.
I know.
I'm just saying. I saw the Michelle Fishbach Valentine. It made me laugh because it was so just poorly done. Basically, definitely room for some inappropriate jokes. Um, which even makes me more sad that I didn't get one. Apparently, I'm not good enough for Michelle.
I like comical stuff. It was unexpected when I
Yeah.
saw it. I'll give it that. Not necessarily what I would have thought of as a caucus
Not
message.
something
but
I would have expected.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, that primary, so I'm sorry, the caucuses, the delegates get chosen, you get voted in by your peers basically, and if nobody else shows up, you might vote yourself in. But now those delegates will show up at the county convention.
Yep.
There again, you get a chance to vote to become a delegate at the state level. So you get to choose. I'm sorry, you got to back that up. At the endorsing convention for your House districts.
Then you get the Senate districts.
Well, we're not in Senate this year, so it'll just be endorsement for the House.
Okay.
But then also endorsement at the congressional district, CD7 level in our area for the candidates who are running there. And that's Michelle Fishbach and Steve Boyle.
Yep.
So there again, the process started last Tuesday with the caucuses. If you don't like those two candidates, you should have showed up last Tuesday.
You get what you vote for, and if you don't vote, well, you get what you don't vote for.
That's what somebody said. That kind of put it the same way. They said if you can't complain if you don't show up to be a delegate.
Yep.
Because that's where the process starts.
Which is weird because when I was growing up, they said you can't complain if you don't vote.
But there's a decisions that are already made before the ballot is in November.
That's true, but then you still get choice in November. Which is funny because back in 2016, when Trump won the first time, I went out and voted. And then I had some of my roommates that did not go and vote. And then they're sitting there complaining about Trump. I'm like, you didn't even vote, dude. Shut up. And they're like,
so is it a true choice, though, in November?
well, it is. It is a true choice because you choose between. You can choose between whatever ticket, but also you can also write in whomever you want.
You can't.
Like, for example,
That's very true.
Mickey Mouse gets how many votes every election cycle?
I got to tell you, I voted for Mickey a few times.
Really?
I have.
Dude, nothing about Mickey Mouse screams fantastic statesman.
I understand, but the other
Just saying.
two choices left a whole lot to be desired.
I mean, Donald Duck was actually not even him. Scrooge McDuck, he was at least rich.
Yeah.
Knew how to handle money.
It's good with money, that's for
Good
sure.
with money.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pick a Looney Tune. I'm probably gonna pick someone like Scrooge McDuck or the Martian guy, just for kicks. Actually, no, Bugs Bunny.
Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, no, Bugs Bunny for president. Big Chungus. I'm just saying, he knew how to get things done.
Oh, there's so many things going through my head right now. It's just I might have to take another shot of coffee, I guess. Anywho,
Yeah.
we kind of slid down
I
the
think I
path there. I
derailed
wasn't
that, my
expecting.
Bugs Bunny for
Bugs
president.
Bunny for president. Actually, that's kind of comical, and it does tie in with a bill that I signed off on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was a senator and I were discussing this, and we would like to see a third choice on a ballot.
Oh really?
None of the above.
None. Okay, so what happens if none of the above gets picked?
Well, then we start over.
I like it.
None of the above.
I mean, like that's fair. Because if you don't like any of the candidates, like, hey, let's do it. Let's have a do-over. Let's pick new people to be in charge. Because that way, you're not just picking between the lesser of two evils. You can actually remove them both, and like, let's get some better people.
Right.
Because I'm like, how many people would have done that with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in 2016?
It may have happened. It shows the dissatisfaction with the options nowadays.
And if they did that in the primary, like so many people, like Joe Biden just lost to uncommitted in Michigan. So like, could you imagine doing a do-over in Michigan?
I think that same thing happened with one of the primaries in
Nevada.
Nevada.
Nevada with Nikki Haley. None of the above. Yeah.
None of the above. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if you take the term, like if you're concerned with like the word democracy, that is truly democratic by nature. Under the when I say it, I mean the umbrella of democracy, not what other people say.
Sure. Yeah, it was an interesting bill. I love the idea. We'll see if it goes anywhere. Might get some attention.
Yeah, right. The Governor Walz. Tell him to sign off on it.
Me and Timmy.
Yeah,
Like
real
this.
close. Yeah. Him? Have you talked to him in person
I
yet?
never have, not
Okay.
personally.
Okay.
We've been in the same room, but I've never talked to him.
You're you're a little taller than him, if it makes you feel better.
Thank you. I've been told I'm better looking as well.
That's not that's pretty easy. I mean, like, so I follow the guy on X, and like he's been wearing his flannel more often.
Sure.
I'm proud of him for that, but he's still not doing it proper. He like shines it up every time. It's like, dude,
You can tell it
You
came
can
straight
tell.
from LL Bean catalog, and he slips it on.
he
Yep.
just like dry cleaned it every
True.
time, put
Yeah.
some like shoe shine on it.
True woodsman right there.
Yeah, true woodsman.
Sure. No, next topic. Let me see what else we're going to talk about. Oh, yes. Before I forget, there are two bills, Second Amendment bills. One was safe storage, and the other one was. Oh, if your gun is lost or stolen. I'm sorry, I had to think about that for a second. If your gun is lost or stolen, you have to report it within 48 hours.
What happens if you don't report it in 48 hours?
And now you are a law-abiding citizen who have just become a criminal.
Well, what happens if you get it back
Um,
in like 72 hours?
you offer mea culpas and move on. I'm not sure. Really, it's a law that has the potential to turn law-abiding citizens, a victim of a crime, into a criminal.
Yeah, no, that's the design, I believe.
Well, it's just idiotic.
Yeah, and then the safe storage one, how are they going to enforce it? They're just going to walk into your home without a warrant and be like, hey, let me see your guns.
I have to say,
Like, what if you don't have any guns?
well, I'm very proud of our local sheriffs.
Yeah.
Mike Allen sent me a letter. Brian Welk sent me a letter, and I did not get Mike's in time, but Brian Welk's letter was submitted as testimony
Nice.
for those bills. So I had the opportunity to sit in that. The safe storage, there again, it's a law that is not solving a problem. You know, when they talk about the suicide rates have gone up. Okay, why have suicide rates gone up? By looking at it and saying it's the guns. Well, people are killing themselves by whatever means they deem the most efficient. If a gun is available, they'll do it that way. If it's not, they find other means because the rates have gone up in states or in countries even with no guns allowed.
Yep.
You know, so by taking away the gun is not the solution. The other thing that I find really contradictory is because suicides are added to those numbers of
It inflates it.
well, people that kill themselves, and now they say, look, guns are responsible for all these people that kill themselves, or for all these deaths. But when you add suicides to that, but we're also looking at Minnesota and saying, we're going to give you assisted suicide law in this state. Doesn't that seem contradictory? You're saying you can't kill yourself with a gun, we got to take away the gun away, but you can kill yourself with assisted suicide and a doctor's help. What's the difference?
The difference is you're going to the government and begging them.
Well,
It's a power trip.
I mean, does that seem just stupid or what?
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's unminded. If I'm going to try to say something PC.
Well, really what it shows you, it's not about helping that person, stopping them committing suicide.
Plus,
It's about going after the
yeah,
guns.
if you get the assisted suicide, you're paying for it, so it's money.
We're not offering counseling or help to the people that are going to commit suicide. We're just going to try to take away the gun from them. And if your gun is not locked up, if it's not used for safe storage or whatever, now you become a criminal. Well,
Wait, so what defines safe?
they have different definitions. It's got to be locked. It's got to be secured. There were things in the bill that have to be stable. Yeah, it's got to be.
So
There was certain.
so like if my front door is locked and I have a gun sitting on my hypothetically because I don't own guns, but if I were to have one on my table, when my front door is locked, it's locked up in my house, right?
Well, there was an example where say you're a farmer out here, 60 years old, Minnesota,
Mhm.
you live by yourself and you use the gun to whatever, take gray squirrels or whatever
Yeah.
pest that you see fit. Somebody comes in, sees your gun, steals it, commits suicide. Are you responsible?
Well, no, because that'd be a murder. Or am I overthinking this?
Well, no, somebody comes into your house,
Yep.
steals your gun because they're going to commit suicide, shoot themselves with your gun. And then when the cops track it back, find out that your gun was not securely stored safely.
Yeah.
Now, could you be responsible for that death?
Well, it depends. Is it a suicide or is it a murder?
Well, no, it's because the gun wasn't secure. They're not going to go after you for murder.
Well, I'm just saying, because like a murder means you're responsible for someone's death.
Well, if you are the gun owner, the person that commits suicide uses your gun, then aren't you just assisting in the suicide?
But that's legal if you're a doctor.
Well, it's legal if you're a doctor, but not if you're a gun owner.
I mean,
watch out.
Well, I mean, that depends. You could be a doc. You can credit yourself with being a doctor.
The stupidity of it is just unbelievable. Do we want safe communities? Absolutely. Do we want people to kill themselves? No, we don't. I mean, that goes without saying. Going after the gun is not the solution. Let's help the people that need help. And when you have people who are breaking into somebody's house to steal a gun, let's go after the criminals. Quit making law-abiding citizens criminals. This is just asinine. Really what it is about taking away your guns.
What
It's not about
happens when you
stopping
take away
crime. It's
somebody's
not
gun?
about stopping suicide. It's coming after your guns.
What happens
Okay.
when they take your guns?
We've seen that.
I've seen that many times.
Every genocide that's taken place was preceded
With a removal of arms.
removal of arms. Absolutely. Yep.
Which is funny because I'm going to do one history lesson before we wrap up. The book that I'm reading right now is Julius Caesar, the Man.
Did they have handguns?
No, they did not, but they had spears and swords and stuff, and I'm reading about his exploits in Gaul. And one of the things that I've got a bunch of lessons. I got made fun of the other day so much because I was just like, I wanted to talk about it. Because it's Rome, and I guess I get made fun of for that. But there was a tribe in Gaul, and Julius Caesar came up with his army, and he built a bridge, and he besieged the city, and they're like, we surrender. He's like, okay, surrender, you're going to be under my protection, just give up your arms, and I'll protect you. And they're like, well, we don't want to because our neighbors, we kind of fight with our neighbors. They're like, no, if you want this, you got to give up your arms. They're like, okay, fine. So they gave up their arms, and then they were subjects of the Roman Republic, and soon to be empire. But basically, you give up your weapons, you give up your ability to defend yourself. You're under the subjugation of somebody with weapons.
Bringing that a little bit closer to our own history in the United States here, how well did it work for the Native Americans when they were forced onto reservations and their guns were taken away from them? You want to talk about how our government has used that confiscation against its citizens? Look no further than our tribes. With that being said, what else? Is there anything else we want to talk
We'll
about?
wrap it up.
We've had a good discussion tonight.
Yeah.
There's many things going on. We'll try to
A
keep
lot
you
of things to
updated.
look into.
Yep, try to keep you up to date as much as possible. Going to have to make sure we can get locations when we can. A lot of events going on. We're going to probably do a rally sometime in March. We're going to have to see. Might do it in the northern part of my area, maybe as far as Park Rapids, which is out of my area, but we were talking about this. And we'll discuss the Second Amendment issues. We'll discuss some of the laws that are going on and let people know. But I think these rallies during session are good.
Yep.
Educating people. Oh, before I forget, the resolutions at our county level. We had counties that were sending in these flag resolutions saying we're not going to fly the new flag. We had counties that Wadena County sent in a resolution for the sanctuary state bill, which is really just getting started. And they sent a resolution in saying we're not going to abide by this. So it's absolutely amazing. And I think it's great.
They're on top of things over there at Rodina.
I love it. I love it. And it shows this is the voice of the people. I give the utmost respect to the commissioners that are standing up and saying we represent the people in our area. This is what they want. This is what we are going to push, and I commend them. Pat on the back for standing up for the people in their area.
Yep, absolutely.
So, anything else?
Be involved. Write your reps. Talk to your county commissioners. Talk to your sheriff. There's things going on. And it's just, it's interesting. If you don't pay attention, things are just going to change, and you're like, what the hell happened?
That's right.
But
That's right. We have to be involved. We can't just complain about things when they happen. We have to make them happen. And the state is really, it's up to us.
yep,
It is our voice. So get involved. With that, this is Pints and Politics.
politics. We're in Long Prairie today.
Beautiful countryside restaurant. Looking forward to eating that banana cream pie.
Very good.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you so much for watching. Bye.